Donald Trump has been elected the 47th President of the United States, marking a remarkable comeback for a disgraced former president who 4 years ago refused to concede defeat, ignited a violent Capitol insurrection, faced felony convictions, and survived 2 assassination attempts. With a decisive victory in Wisconsin, Trump surpassed the 270 electoral votes needed for the presidency, cementing his lead by winning Michigan on Wednesday afternoon and reclaiming Pennsylvania, along with the rest of the blue wall states that supported him in 2016 but shifted to Joe Biden in 2020. On Wednesday afternoon, Vice President Kamala Harris, Trump's Democratic opponent, called him to concede and offer congratulations, followed shortly by President Biden, who also extended an invitation for a White House meeting to initiate the peaceful transfer of power. President Biden also reached out to Harris. Calls of congratulations poured in from foreign leaders, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and French President Emmanuel Macron. Trump's victory underscores the effectiveness of his aggressive political tactics as a propagandist. Throughout the campaign, he launched deeply personal and often divisive attacks on Harris, portraying a dire image of a nation under threat. This approach, combined with a hyper-masculine persona, resonated with disaffected voters, particularly men, in a polarized America. Trump outperformed his 2020 showing in state after state, while Harris struggled to match Biden's 2020 success. With a Republican-controlled Senate awaiting his return, Trump will resume office facing a House where control remains undecided. Trump's win concludes an extraordinarily competitive and eventful election season, marred by assassination attempts on his life and a last-minute change in the Democratic nominee. As he prepares to take office again on January 20th, he faces a landscape of heightened division and international challenges that will test his leadership. This election also marks Trump's second victory over a female opponent in a general election. Harris, the first woman of color to head a major party ticket, became the nominee after Biden exited amid concerns about his age. Despite an initial wave of enthusiasm, Harris faced challenges rallying voters disillusioned with the current administration. The election of Trump could undo many of the national climate policies to reduce planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions. These rollbacks will come as more lives are being lost in heat waves, record amounts of climate pollution are accumulating in the atmosphere, and the United States has been hit with what may be 2 of its most expensive hurricanes. Special counsel prosecutors plan to close their criminal cases against Donald Trump before his inauguration. The decision reflects the practical reality that these cases won't conclude before Inauguration Day. Once Trump resumes office, Justice Department policy would prevent further criminal proceedings against him. The Justice Department had anticipated that if Trump won, the cases centered on his theft of classified documents and his attempts to overturn the 2020 election would end, as his incoming Attorney General would likely dismiss the charges. This move is also seen as a safeguard, preemptively shutting down the cases to avoid Trump potentially ordering the removal of special counsel Jack Smith, a threat he'd made if he returned to office, with Smith still in charge. The Justice Department is now considering how best to close out these cases, each at different stages of legal complexity. Specifically, they're cautious about abandoning the classified documents case, which is currently dismissed and under appeal, to avoid setting a legal precedent that might challenge future special counsel appointments. Trump launched his 2022 presidential campaign amid the looming special counsel investigation into his retention of national security materials at Mar-a-Lago after his 2020 defeat. Throughout his campaign, he claimed he was running to secure his freedom, suggesting that re-election was his only escape from prosecution. While Trump couldn't delay his New York criminal case linked to the 2016 hush money scheme, which ended in 34 felony convictions, the conviction had little political impact. By midday on Wednesday, Republicans were ahead 199 to 181, after the Associated Press called a Democratic hold in Illinois and a victory for a Republican incumbent in California during the morning. North Carolina Republicans had won 3 seats previously held by Democrats, while Democrats flipped seats in Alabama and New York. The U.S. may have to wait days to learn who won the House, given that it took more than a week to make that call in 2022. All 435 members of the House faced re-election, with Republicans looking to expand their narrow majority after 2 chaotic years in power. The Republican House Speaker and insurrectionist Mike Johnson was re-elected to a 5th term and is seen as likely to continue his leadership role if the Republicans are able to keep control of the chamber. These next few weeks will be critical to see how Donald Trump builds out his team and if he indeed stands by his election pledges to close the border, deport 15 million immigrants, reduce grocery and gas prices, and arrest his opponents. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.